Welcome back to your Valley Sports Plug. It's the 2025 College Football Special, Arizona State Edition. I'm your host, Chris Patrick. Happy to be back here on this glorious Tuesday night, kicking off a little later than we normally do here at 7:45. You can usually find us right here on our Valley Sports Plug YouTube page at 7 p.m. Arizona time every Tuesday night. Go ahead and follow us at AZ_VSP across all socials. Our links are in the description below. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to recap last season, the Big 12 championship, the heartbreaking loss to Texas in double OT. Starting the season ranked 11th. We'll go game by game, give our predictions, or at least our guests will here, who I would like to introduce at this time. You know him, you love him. We're talking college football, so we had to bring him in. It is the brothers, Ben and Stephen Miller. What is going on, fellas? Glad to have you back here.
Oh, living the dream. Don't wake me up. I'm excited more than ever for this ASU football season. Let's go Devils.
Thank you for having us back. It always gives me the chills when I hear that VSP intro.
It gets the juices pumping. It's what the people want. Man, so like Kenny Dillingham said, this team is kind of igniting the Valley, or has ignited the Valley. I'm botching the quote here, I'm sure, but I'm stoked. You guys are stoked. So let's break it down. But we gotta take a look back before we can take a step forward. Obviously, last season, big expect. Just accidentally muted myself there. That was great. Ben, I know you have had a lot to say based off how last year's stream went, where we gathered to chat ASU football. So I want to give you the floor real quick to make any comments or air any grievances you might have.
Oh, I mean, where to begin? From being picked last in the preseason AP poll to be in the conference, last place overall, coming off back-to-back 3-9 seasons. This was a miracle season for the Sun Devils. I am so happy with the direction that Kenny Dillingham is taking this team and this program in, and I don't think that was a fluke. I think that was a starting point for what ASU fans can expect moving into the years to come under Coach Dillingham. Now, I think the main thing here is Steven's takes from last year, which were he was mainly my heel for the most part. He has been abused many, many times as a Sun Devils fan and as just a sports fan in general. So, I don't want to hold it against him, but I really am hoping he turns his tune or changes his tune this year as we go through game by game and predict what's going to happen to our Sun Devils.
So look, I will give you the benefit of the doubt here, and I will eat crow for a brief moment that yes, I saw another 3-9 season coming. I was very vocal about that last year. I could not have been more wrong. And I was thrilled to be so wildly incorrect on the trajectory of this team. Kenny, I think we all knew that Kenny was eventually going to figure it out. He came in, he said the right things, he had the right pedigree from his experience at Oregon, developing guys, getting them to the league, winning at a high level. He had clearly been around teams that had made that leap. You just don't see a turnaround like this happen very often in today's college football game. And I think a huge, credit to him that he got the guys all on the same page. He got them really, they believed in themselves first, and he said and did all of the right things. So I was thrilled to be wrong. I am cautiously optimistic about their chances going into this year. I do not see another 3-win season coming around anytime soon while Kenny is still there. I don't know if we can build the statue quite yet. I think this team he still has some things to prove, but being able, especially in the player transfer era, being able to return as many guys as he has on both sides of the ball, I still think that my big takeaway from last year on why this team made such a sudden leap was on the defensive side. And he was able to really keep that core intact. He's bringing back two of the main offensive weapons. I know losing Skat is going to be tough. He really was the lifeblood of that team. I'm excited to see him. You know, it's going to require watching Giants game, which will, I think, be a little tough this year. But I am excited to see what he does at the next level. I think Levitt and Jordan Tyson coming back, you know, the weapons are all there. The pieces are there. I think the challenge, and Ben, you know, we've been following the Big 12 in our household for a long time as Kansas basketball fans. Not as, you know, we haven't watched as much Big 12 football, I think, but the problem with this conference is that everyone is dangerous in one way or another. And ASU truly does have a murderer's row of games. I mean, you look at this, and I know we're going to go dive into the game by game, but you look at the schedule and they are playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that had winning records last year. So, I mean, one of those is NAU, which we'll talk about here for the season opener, but they are playing teams that were also fairly good and competitive and bowl eligible last year. So there's not a lot of gimme games on this schedule. There's a lot of coin flips. They're going to need to have luck break their way when it comes to travel and injuries and all of that. And I will say, you know, that Cincinnati loss, I still have a lot of heartburn about that from last year because it showed that this is not a perfect team when traveling east and playing some of these early games. It's going to start to get cold. You've got, you know, unfortunately, we have been labeled, we're a warm weather team. And so when you go to start playing in some of these, you know, Ohio and some of these Midwest environments, it's a totally different beast. So the road schedule is going to be difficult, but based on what we saw from this team, I think they absolutely can pull it off. And I do think that they have a path back to the playoff. They just got to show up.
It doesn't seem like you're alone either, Stephen. Like the national sentiment seems to be skewing towards, you know, Arizona State having a lot of success and repeated success, of course, directly reflected in the 11 ranking that we're coming out with in, I believe it's the media poll and the coaches poll. Both of those in the top 11 or at 11 there in the top 25. So big expectations. I know that scares a lot of us in the Valley, but based off the performance last season and with so many starters coming back, as you kind of mentioned, I think there is the reason to have that cautious optimism. And it seems like that's maybe some type of bug that's going around the Valley Sports Plug Studios, virtual and physical lately, because I've been feeling the same way about like the Cardinals as well. You know, football, I guess, in the Valley is back in a lot of ways. I'm excited for this team coming up. But Ben, last season, that success that Kenny Dillingham brought is a lot of people excited and feeling like not necessarily, obviously not on the hot seat or any risk of losing his job, but a lot of hype surrounding him, where I even heard a commentator, like a national guy, I think it was a Pro Football Focus guy, say that Kenny Dillingham has propelled himself into a top 5 coaching position, and also heard an interview clip where he was basically saying he's treating this season just the same as he did last season, with the same level of intensity, and it's all gas, no brakes. I mean, I guess I just want you to speak on Kenny Dillingham and what you think of his impact on this program since he's come in.
You know, I think it all starts and ends with the head coach, especially in college football. And I think that with Kenny Dillingham specifically, he is the right person at the right time for the right job. And this is truly has been a stars aligned moment. Like, yes, he did start with a 3-9 season, like coming off of Herm Edwards, and I curse his name every chance I get. Every Jaden Daniels clip I see where he's thanking his coaches and thanking Herm Edwards specifically. I will not look back on that time with good thoughts. But Kenny is different. You see it in the way that he interacts with his players. You see it in the way that he interacts with the press. He is just so locked in to ASU, to the lifeblood of this university and this community as a whole, full on activating the Valley. I think the biggest thing that I saw that was like, oh, wow, no, this is a really big deal, was prior to week 0 in the ESPN college game. It wasn't game day, but it was like their college pre-show before the Iowa State Kansas State game. They had a full segment on Kenny Dillingham and Sam Levitt in in that program. And that's just showing the work that he's done, the national recognition that ASU is starting to get again for the first time in, I think many of us can say, like, living memory, until like since we were in college, high school, since the 90s, basically, that ASU is being looked at as a serious, if not contender, then definitely a playoff frequenter over the next several years.
And, you know, Ben, we've always joked that the national story for so long had been, is ASU a sleeping giant? You know, what a university of this size with this many resources and the allure of playing in a warm weather, fun environment like Tempe, it was only a matter of time until one of the sports, football or basketball, finally found some relevancy. I think that success is a lot harder to maintain in the player empowerment era, because it's one thing to get them in the door and to have a successful season, but it's another thing, you're fighting against SEC money. And as we're going to talk about here, even within the Big 12, there are some much more robust NIL programs that can dangle serious money in front of these players earlier in their careers. So I still am on the record for saying, I think, you know, player transfer rules being relaxed is ultimately a good thing. I think it's made for a lot more parity in the game, but it does require, you know, you not only have to find your guys, but you got to keep your guys that got you there in-house. And I think Kenny has found some early success with being able to retain that core and plugging a lot of the holes that they had. And, you know, some of the holes, like we're going to talk about, losing Scat, an All-American caliber player, it requires, you have to get creative to then, recreate that success at such a crucial position.
Chris, I need to take this from Stephen, because he brings up a really great point.
Please,
and something that I think is the strongest piece that gives me so much hope for this ASU season is that returner mentality of bringing back 17 starters, bringing back, basically, it is the same team minus Scat, but with some great additions too. And so I think that this is going to be a more balanced team. This is going to be something that is, you see other coaches try to replicate. Because when the playoff run happened, Kenny didn't do what a lot of the old heads in college football are doing and saying, like, oh, you want to leave my team? No, get out. You're done. He was good to his guys. He just said, hey, I get it. You got to do what's best for you. You can keep practicing. Stay with us on this run. You're who got us here. Let's keep going together. And then at the end of the season, you can go wherever you want. I think that is the exactly right approach to take in this era of player empowerment with NIL and immediate transfers that you need to take as a head coach and need to have that mindset with.
Yeah, I cannot underscore how progressive that was for him to come out and let players enter the portal while remaining on the team and still getting to go into the playoff environment and be able to experience that once in a lifetime feel of being a Cinderella team. So cool to see him do that and allow those players to really get the best of both worlds, because there are still a lot of kinks being sorted out in this new system. And one of them, unfortunately, is that the portal opens up at a very awkward time when other teams are still entering the playoff. So it's something I hope to see. You know, I don't have a lot of nice things to say about the NCAA as an administrative body, but I do think this is something they need to fix sooner rather than later, because it does really screw with how you are able to go from, especially if you're leaving a successful team that has a postseason, to find a new home.
Yeah, I would agree. There's still a lot of wrinkles that need to be ironed out, but you guys said it really well about Kenny Dillingham. He's really creating the mold, or I guess the blueprint of how to be a coach in this modern era with the systems that are in place and ever changing, as well as just meeting these guys where they are. And with the social media and the digital age, I know that's been a thing for 15 years now, going back to even when we were in high school, but now it's it's a whole different ball game, man. And I risk sounding like an old head there, but I did want to touch on another point you guys made there about the players being recruited to transfer elsewhere and ASU not being considered one of those powerhouses, like the SEC teams, the Alabamas, the Ohio States. They're gonna keep guys like this, even like a US team like USC out here on the West Coast. But now it seems like ASU is kind of starting to carve their way into being considered one of those teams. Specifically, I thought of a guy like Sam Levitt when you guys are talking about him there, where there was a lot of chatter about him going to Oregon and being lured away with a lot of NIL money. And you maybe had, to do with the run they went on, the team around him. I'd like to think Kenny Dillingham had a large part to play in his decision to stay, but he did. He decided to stay. We're running it back with Sam Levitt. Now he's in Heisman conversations. He's in top 10 in the NFL draft conversations. I guess last thing, as we kind of go from last season, starting into this season, we're going to go game by game. Does it scare you guys, the expectations that are being put on this team at a national level? Forget anything locally, like nationally, people are talking very highly of this team, and there's national playoff expectations at this point.
I think locally we all have the same thought when we hear ASU preseason top 25 team being, okay, when's the other shoe going to drop? When are we going to have the big loss that is embarrassing and just derails the season, not just this season, but probably next season too? And that's not something that I'm worried about this year. I feel like the consistency and then the week-on-week improvement that we had last year, where when we were playing Mississippi State, when we were playing Texas State, it wasn't the same team that was playing Kansas State, Iowa State, and Arizona back to back to back at the end of the season. They have improved, they have gotten better, and they will continue to do that under Kenny Dillingham. I think that we, as Arizona fans, we are always waiting, okay, what does success look like? We got our success. Okay, now we're going to take a step back. I think this is the time where we start building something that is truly a magical and truly almost, I dare to say the word dynasty.
Whoa. Before you are a dynasty, you have to win once. Let's be careful with the D
Big
word.
12 dynasty.
However, Chris, I think that's an unfair question, because if we look back at recent history, has there ever been an Arizona sports team that received national attention and didn't live up to the moment? I mean, come on. The history of success that we have been blessed with here in the Valley, I can't. No, I totally agree. We look at what happened to the Suns. Every time the Cards put together a winning season, look at the D-backs and the World Series hangover. The list, recent memory is long and distinguished, but it goes back decades. We are so used to getting burned physically and emotionally by these teams. So again, that's where the cautious optimism comes in. There are a lot of good reasons to see a successful year. I think the thing that I'm most relieved about is that the investigation that has been hanging over this team since the Herm Edwards days and since the Antonio Pierce days, with the recruiting violations during COVID, the really ugly allegations of assistant coaches encouraging families to take out credit cards to send their kids on recruiting trips, just really ugly, grimy, the kind of stuff that hopefully NIL was supposed to get rid of. And we're finally past that. The punishment has been handed out. It's in the rearview mirror. We don't have to look back at the Herm Edwards days anymore. We've served our punishment, and now we can finally be excited about having a hometown guy who wants to be here, and who also I do want to mention, because I think that Oregon story didn't really necessarily get as much of a scare out of ASU fans as it could, because we were all still kind of riding the high. But the reason that Bo Nix found success at Oregon was because of Kenny. And so I think it's very easy to point to some of these other programs that used to traditionally be able to say, oh yeah, we're going to get you to the league. We're going to get you that national spotlight. We're going to be able to get you in primetime games and get you in front of scouts. We now have that, and we haven't had that in a really long time. So that's a powerful tool, to get these guys motivated, because they're all looking ahead to the next level. And now not only, I think we're going to see multiple players from this team that are making an impact at the next level, but I think Cam is going to be kind of the figurehead for this new era of getting guys to the league. And I've only heard good things about, Giants fans seeing him play in preseason. So I think there's just nothing but positive vibes coming off of this team right now.
Yeah, and I mentioned Sam Levitt being in those like high draft conversations, but so is Jordan Tyson. Like people even think he could be a first round draft pick. And for ASU to have 2 first round draft picks is like, it sounds unreal. Like it seems almost unbelievable to where like, obviously we'll see how the season plays out. All of the football is left to be played, but I do like where you're going with the cautious optimism. And I think we'll just have to see, I guess, Stephen, how optimistic you are. Are you guys ready to go game by game here and do the prediction?
Please.
I was born ready. All right.
Oh, well, we're bringing out the book. We're bringing out.
Yeah, I took handwritten notes for this, Ben. I came prepared.
Oh,
all right.
Okay. Someone was in AP classes.
I was just going to say real quick, you guys are the experts. We brought you on here as our experts. I'm not going to offer up predictions. I'm going to let you guys, I think that's how I did it last year, but I'm going to leave
on it, Chris.
I'm going to leave it to the pros.
Chris, I want you to rate the predictions.
Rate the predictions. I think, how about based off both of your guys' arguments, I'll decide which way I'm leaning, and I'll make it. So that's how I'll do my prediction.
We'll do it like we did the VSP bracket.
I'll be a tiebreaker, more or less.
And yeah, you guys can weigh in.
All right, I like it.
All right, I'd like to be reminded that I won state in CompGov. Steven did not.
Okay. Hey, we're doing a football podcast. Okay.
Oh, okay. Nerd.
Let me know when you're on the speech and debate podcast, and then we can talk about that.
Oh, okay.
All right. Season opener. We got the Lumberjacks, NAU, at home this year. It's kind of the old tradition at this point to open the season with our friends from up north. NAU 8-5 last year, surprisingly feisty. They've always been pretty decent, but keep in mind this is an FCS team, so they do play at that kind of lower tier of the college football season. They actually earned an at-large bid into the FCS playoff, where, Ben, you've got a personal connection to the team that knocked them out, beat them 24-0. Do you know who that was?
Oh, was that the Abilene Wildcats?
Abilene Christian. Rawr!
It's funny because I also have a personal connection to the D2 national champions, the Harding. I don't know what their mascot is. It's their 2 Church of Christ schools, and half my wife's family went to Abilene Christian, the other half went to Harding.
Okay. So, it's I think a good thing that I want to see them start the season against a good team, but I don't necessarily want that team to be good enough to potentially start them 0-1. So I think this will be a good test, but again, ASU at home, you've got, all of the hype and everything coming in. They have to come out of this game strong, especially when you're ranked top 15, top 20 like this. You are at risk of being jumped. You don't even need to lose that game to drop in the rankings if other teams come out and beat the doors off of, whoever they've lined up. Like, we're not unique here in playing an FCS school. So what are you watching for in this first game, Ben?
I think that it's the preseason expectations. Everyone is watching what does ASU do in their season opener, but also in their non-conference schedule overall. And what ASU at number 11, that getting down to that top 10, that is a big hill to climb for them, because we're competing against the top tier of the ACC, which is Clemson. We're competing against the entire Big Ten and SEC just to get into that conversation of who is a top 10 team. The moment that I honestly don't think that we'll make it into the top 10. We're going to hold on to that 11 until conference play actually starts, because we are going to be the ones that open the door for the rest of the Big 12. The Big 12 is probably going to be a one-bid league once again into the CFP this year. So if we are good enough, if we are able to come out with all of this pent-up energy of like we need to prove it against NAU, who should be demolished by us at 9:30 p.m. Central Time this Saturday, which I will watch every second of that game. That's what needs to happen. We need to come out dominant against a good FCS team. What worries me the most for this entire season is that away schedule, because at next week, Chris, let's rate the arguments right now first before we move on into the next one.
I don't think there's an argument here.
I think you guys are on the.
We agree, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I guess if I'm ranking the arguments, I would say it's you each get a point.
Okay.
All right.
We'll do it like around
ASU,
the horn. You each get a point.
Two touchdown win minimum.
Okay. I believe the line is set at 25, which they should cover. I think they should win this by 4 touchdowns. All right. Now we get into Now we get into the thick of it. Okay. So Mississippi State last year. So this is a rare home and home SEC trade-off. ASU, what was the stat, Ben, last year? ASU had never beaten an SEC team before.
It was the first SEC victory in ASU's program history,
which is wild. Like, they've been playing football for decades and they had never beat one. So I thought that was cool. It definitely was like made you.
I think the number is we had played 8 times over the course of history, and we had always lost to an SEC team. It was mostly bowl games, other non-consequential matches, but that is the biggest thing overhead. Mississippi State is projected to be the worst team in the SEC this league. They're not projected to win a single SEC game overall.
Well, and that would be the second year in a row because they didn't win a conference game last year. 2-10 on the season. However, this just gives you an idea of the SEC bias. So I pulled up the Clarion Ledger, which I believe is the closest thing to the national, like USA Today, Arizona Republic, that they have in Starkville, Mississippi. And their prediction, Ben, I want you to just put your SEC homer cap on for a moment and think through, what do you think the Clarion Ledger predicts the final score of this game will be?
Well, hey, brother, I just think that them boys from Starkville, they're going to come out strong against these weaklings from the Big 12. They're just going to come out and stomp them. I'm going to be ringing my cowbell from here to the cows come home. 2 touchdown minimum. Let's go State.
I don't know if I've ever heard your Mississippi accent, and I don't know if I ever want to hear it again.
Yeah.
27.
That was more of a Texas. I was channeling Skate's grandpa.
Yeah. 27-26, close shootout game. They have ASU winning, but just barely. I don't know. That's quite a homer pick. I mean, at least they give ASU the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, ASU should. The only thing that worries me is, again, you've got a West Coast team traveling east. If that ends, I don't have the time here in front of me, but if that ends up being an early game, you run into the same problem they had with Cincinnati, where they just came out really flat because they were playing at like 8 a.m. Arizona time.
Mississippi, still Central Time.
Oh,
so it's only a 2-hour difference overall. But the thing that worries me most is going on the road, second game of the season, to an SEC environment. This is the premier quality win pickup that Mississippi State can have to set their season right from the start. They're looking to come back from last year, not winning a single conference game. And there's something for them to play for. this worries me. I think ASU still pulls it out because they're trash. Mississippi State being trash overall. And I would love to see Starkville burn.
Oh, okay.
Sherman didn't do it. He didn't make it that far.
Is this the same Mississippi State team that went 2-10 last season?
Yep.
And we beat them in Tempe. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
We beat them by less than one touchdown in Tempe. The score was
the game was close.
It was exactly one touchdown. It was 30-23.
I like it. I'll give Steven 1 point for his argument and Ben 2 points for the Southern accent.
Damn. All right.
Well, hey, brother, I'm just here for the calls.
Then we have a back-to-back Texas bonanza of games, starting with this feisty Texas State team. So I will say, when I first looked at this schedule and then went back and compared the Texas State game from last year, I think this Texas State team is possibly one of the more dangerous sleepers that ASU has on the schedule this year. It's at
They're
home.
a projected Group of 5 contender to make the CFP.
Yeah, and so they're, and the way the playoff is set up, they've got a couple of these at-large bids specifically for these teams. Like, they are like the new era Boise State that could come in, and they play a really fun style of offense. They're also strangely a transfer destination. They brought in guys from Oregon State, Pitt, and Auburn. I think their quarterback competition were all 3 transfers from serious programs. And so I don't think this is I don't want to see ASU sleep, especially if they come into this 2-0 and they're playing at home. I want to see them keep their foot on the gas and continue. This is an absolutely winnable game, but I don't think it's going to be an easy one.
No, I think that we flipped the script of what happened last year, where we went to San Marcos. We played Texas State there, and we struggled. It was we were seemingly getting overpowered at the line of scrimmage by this Group of 5 FBS team. We turned on the gas at the end. We were able to pull out that win. Also a one-score game, 31-28 to finish. But overall, I think them coming to Tempe, seeing that environment, I don't think that they stand a chance. I think that we blow it out of the water.
So it is all what I'm going to be watching is that first quarter. Here's how much I did research. Here's a fun Texas State fact for you from last season. In the first quarter, Texas State outscored their opponents 161-62. So you cannot have a slow start like they did in the playoff game against Texas, where it seems like it took them 3 quarters before they actually showed up to the game. They need to come out here. They cannot let this team start playing this run and gun style that they do. They absolutely have to hold them. The other thing, this is a team that's good on both sides of the ball. The more I started looking into this Texas State team, the more I was wondering, can I join? Can we do a preview for Texas State in addition to ASU? Because I really like this team. They had 36 sacks for last year compared to holding opponents to 19. And they threw 31 touchdowns and held opponents to 13. So this is a really well-rounded team for kind of being off of the radar.
And, I have plenty of Texas A&M fans, unfortunately, who are friends, and they're looking at the Texas State head coach as a potential new head coach for them, of a homegrown talent. So wherever the Texas State coach ends up, they are going to be a big get for whatever program gets them next year.
All right.
So for the record, you guys think this will be a close fought victory? Or it sounds like Steven is becoming a bit of a Texas State fan right before our eyes.
Is that a little bit of yeehaw I hear?
That's a little bit of yee, some ha. But yeah, I will say, between this game and the Baylor game we're about to talk about, I do not think ASU wins both.
Interesting. I'd expect this later in the Texas run, the longer you spend talking and researching Texas, but like right off the bat.
One of these two, I think they drop.
I like it. That's a fair caveat. So then that takes us down to Baylor, right?
Baylor, which is circled on both of our calendars because Ben and I will be in attendance at that game. So we will.
Hell yeah.
We sure will. We're gonna head down to Waco, which I have another familial connection there, being my wife's cousin is doing his doctorate down in Baylor, and that's where half her family got their law degrees.
I'm excited. I've heard good things about the Waco campus.
Let's keep Waco wacko.
Is that really a saying?
It sure is.
I mean, there's never been anything crazy that happened in Waco, right?
They're the Mormons of the Southwest. Come on.
Cool. Now,
aside from the Mormons in the Southwest.
Yeah. The reason Baylor gives me Baylor and Texas State, like these were winning teams last year. Baylor was also 8-5. They've got, when you look at quarterbacks who are getting Heisman hype and top of the first round potential, Baylor's quarterback is right up there with Sam Leavitt, Sawyer Robinson. He's definitely in demand. I think this game, interestingly, I think this will be ASU's first game where they are not going to be favored. I think they're going to get docked. They're going to give Baylor the benefit of the doubt because this is also kind of a trendy national pick to potentially play for the Big 12. So I think some of this preseason shine that the national media has is going to start to wear off as they get more and more skeptical the further ASU goes into the season. But I'm actually, Ben, I'm thrilled that we have somehow ended up going to this game where it is on the schedule, because I think if everything is going well and they come into this, even if they're 2-1, even if they drop this Texas State game, this is going to be a really big show. Can you go on the road and can you play someone who you could potentially see at the end of the season in the Big 12 championship?
Well, I think the biggest thing here is, number one, we're not going to go into this game 2-1. We're going in this game 3-0. But additionally, last year, first year in the Big 12, we dropped our season opener against Texas Tech at Texas Tech in Lubbock. And so that kind of was like a refresh. Like, oh, wait, no, it's we're not fully back. We're still rebuilding. Like, let's see what goes on. But I think Baylor had probably the best comeback story aside from Kansas last year in the Big 12. They started out overall 2-4. They lost to Utah. They lost to Colorado. They lost to BYU. They lost to Iowa State, all of which were aside from Utah, ended up tied going into tiebreakers for the Big 12 championship. So having that start of your season and then winning out after week 7 for the rest of the season, that's just insane. This is a team that is on the up and up, not on the same pace as ASU overall, but this is a team that is going to be scary to play at home overall. And so I think that while I think ASU is going to go undefeated, this game and then one game that we'll talk about later are my two circles for this is going to be the biggest challenge that they face.
Yeah. I would just jump in here real quick to say, I think this is going to be a test in a lot of ways to show you what kind of team this is and how their muster is. Will they rise up to the big moment because if they're starting 11, win these 3 games in convincing fashion, they're probably going to stay at 11 or higher. So this Baylor team will be the first challenge that this could propel them into a top 5. We're talking one of the top teams in the nation kind of thing, a big statement win. So yeah, I think it from that perspective, being cautiously optimistic, it's also, you can be cautiously excited, I think, for that potential. But like we talked about, you can get burned by that.
This also could be a nationally ranked Baylor team by the time we're playing them, because they start their season with Auburn, who's not currently ranked, but again, SEC bias, they're going to get a lot of credit if they pull off that win. And then they play other fellow playoff team SMU in their second game, who is currently 16. So they could, be 2-0. Then they play Samford. They've got like their cupcake opponent right before this game. So we could have an undefeated 2-3-0 teams matching up. This will definitely, if that's the case, be I think in the running for a primetime Saturday night game.
If Baylor ends up beating SMU, that will jumpstart them up into the top 25. I have no doubt about that.
So, I don't know. I don't know which of the game. I think we're going to get like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. I don't know which of these Texas teams is going to be a problem, but yeah, I would love to see them come out of these first 4 games 3-1. I think that is still.
I can tell you who is going to be not an issue in this Jekyll and Hyde situation, and that's TCU.
Yeah.
TCU at home in Tempe. That is not a game I am worried about in the slightest. The Sonny Dykes era at TCU, like they had their one shining moment. They made it to the national championship a couple of years ago. They have not touched any amount of success since then. And that's all I have to say about that. I think that, TCU win. Notch it up.
You're talking about the winner of the New Mexico Bowl.
The famed New Mexico Bowl. Now that's a trophy that you want to make sure you put up for everyone to see.
Highly lauded. Everybody's sought after, all that.
I only recognize the winner of the Sun Bowl.
This is true. TCU 9-4 last year. So they fell off after they made that national championship appearance a couple years ago. Really fell off, and kind of last year was a get right year for them. Interestingly, their top 3 receivers all made it to the NFL this next year. So they completely had to rebuild their receiving core. And then they've got another, and I think you're going to see this across the Big 12, it's just a murderer's row of quarterbacks with potential. Maybe they don't have all of the tools yet, but they've got this, he's a returning redshirt senior, Josh Hoover, definitely, on radars as someone who, if he puts together a good, strong early season, could be on some Heisman watch lists. But I do think that that's a huge question to lose that much of your receiving core. That's a huge question mark going into the year. And with how well ASU was able to pluck the ball, if they can keep that pressure, I see them being able to kind of dismantle that aspect of the game and stay in control. TCU also does rush really well. So there's reasons to, like, any of these Texas teams can show up on a given day, but I do like ASU. This is the Texas team I am least worried about until in 2 weeks after this. But first, they got it. So I think we're on the same page here. We're looking at, okay, let's say 4-1 going into Utah. Now,
it's still good.
So 5-0 is what you're saying.
4-1, 5-0. Okay, yeah. So we're on pace. Utah. Can you, Ben? How would you summarize Utah's season last year?
The word disaster doesn't do it enough justice overall. They have had questions at the quarterback level. They had issues with their quarterback, health issues, being away from games for most of the season. But they've fallen apart. At the end of the Pac-12 era, they were the quintessential powerhouse. They were winning the Pac-12 championships every single year. They haven't had a winning season in 3 years now? 4 years? It's coming up on a significant time. And that's all part of that like Cam Rising era of Utah overall.
Which the Cam Rising era was extremely long. I think the dude was in college for like 8 years.
For sure. Like last year being his last year, it's like, okay, yeah, you had a redshirt season, you had the COVID year of eligibility, you did your masters. Like what more can you do to stay at this level?
Start your PhD. Keep it going. Become
Graduate,
a full-on
right?
doctor.
Yeah.
No, but I think that the theme for this year is definitely going to be, how does ASU handle hostile away environments? You're going to see it with Mississippi State SEC environment. You're going to see that Baylor, a Texas brand new stadium, wacko, crazy fan base. You're going to see it at Utah, which has everything that Baylor has, but more.
Well, minus the alcohol. But yes, it is going to be a wild environment.
No, we don't play BYU this year.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of 3-2 beers drank in the tailgate for that one. But yeah, Utah, I mean, licking their wounds after a 5-7 game or season in which they were number 12 preseason going into last year. Wheels fell off. They fell off early and they never really recovered. They are projected to have a top 15 defense even after a year from hell. They bring back a really stout defense, and they have they have the number 1 overall offensive lineman going into NFL draft rankings. And then they've got another guy that's projected to be a first rounder. So they've got size and they've got speed. I don't think this is your typical 5-7 team. I do think that there are still a lot of reasons to take this game seriously. But again, this is the kind of game that it's going to be a tough game, but it's a game you should absolutely win if you are truly championship caliber potential.
Stephen, when you said the wheels fell off for Utah, the wheels truly fell off. They started 4-0. They were at, like you said, like 11-12. Their game on September 20 or week 4 of last year was against number 14 nationally ranked Oklahoma State.
Another team that had a disastrous end of their year.
Oklahoma State did not win a single game in conference last year. So I think the main thing is that the Big 12, no one knows how this new Big 12 is going to shake out, who's going to end up on top. Right now, the Sun Devils are. I think that we're going to remain that way, along with Kansas State, Iowa State, and BYU, Utah, Baylor, depending on how they can shake out and like rebuild after their good seasons. But losing 7 in a row up until your very last game, that is a disastrous season for the Utes. I think that they have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to come out really wanting to win, and especially win at home. And that's going to be a tough one to see.
Ooh, interesting. So Mr. Undefeated here, thinking that it might be more of a tough battle. Is that what I'm gleaning from this?
ASU by 3.
Okay. Fair enough.
The most pessimism we've seen so far. All right. Now, this is the next most dangerous Texas team. A lot of dangerous Texas games this season. Texas Tech, preseason ranked number 23, and also probably the sexiest sleeper underdog pick to come out of nowhere and win the conference from the national media. When I think of teams that have defined the NIL player transfer era, Texas Tech across all sports is quickly making a name for itself as the most robust program in terms of just how deep their pockets are, but how good they are at just getting players in the door. A lot of people leave and a lot of people come in. So they are kind of reloading every year with what feels like a brand new team of these college free agents. They've got a new offensive coordinator, so a new scheme coming in, but people are really high on him. And they did lose in terms of outgoing talent. They did lose their all-time running back, who Taj Brooks, who graduated last year. So there are some pieces for them to figure out. But all in all, this is a team that people are really high on, Ben. I'm curious, as a local Texan, what are the people saying about Tech, and how do you feel about this game?
There's two parts of that. My personal opinion, which is that ASU and Texas Tech, two universities and groups of people that are so aligned in 99% of the ways. We're like a circle where we're almost meeting at the middle, but then just repel each other immediately. I referenced the Sun Bowl previously because what seemed like for 3 to 4 years in a row, we were always playing Texas Tech in the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Did not win any of those games, but I don't hold on to that at all. I think that playing in Lubbock is very, very hard. Starting in a new conference against a new opponents, learning the ropes there is very, very hard. I am excited to beat the snot out of these tortilla throwing people that reside in Lubbock, Texas. Now, we both face the same things. We have haboobs. They have haboobs. We have a very large student body. They have their own strain of STD that is unique to that location.
I was going to say, does ASU get away without catching the Raider rash?
We have to look back 2 weeks after that game and see what happens. Let's call the CDC. But I think the main thing here is that this is the most expensive roster in the Big 12 overall. They have all of the money in the world and basically a blank check to rebuild and build a winning team to win the Big 12 overall. Do you want to know what happened before ASU joined the conference? Texas Tech has never won a Big 12 championship. I do not think that Texas Tech will win this new format and this new Big 12 championship, especially this year. Their top running back, Quentin Joyner, he's already out for the 2025 season. He got injured during camp. I think that this is going to be a game where we let out some steam. We let out some steam from that loss that we got, the first loss that we had last season, and it's at home. This is a game that I think is circled on Kenny's map specifically to win.
Well, that's good. So they aren't going to Lubbock. So there is less of a fear of the rash, but I would still load up on antibiotics if I was them.
So I like the revenge game angle also. I can see that. If I were to still be rating your arguments, the revenge game argument wins for me.
Okay. So we're still in what I would consider national ranking territory. Going into and also I would say Houston, this team reminds me a lot of Utah. Maybe not as much in the national aspirations from last year, but just last year, they're coming off of an off year, and this is a program that was previously seen as on the rise. 4-8 last year. Also have a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. The predictions that I saw from Houston media had them, kind of like where we were going into last year's ASU season. Bowl eligible would be a win for this team and this program as they are kind of trying to reestablish themselves. But the thing about these yet another Texas team is that there are always sky-high expectations that they are going to come out and that they are going to play hard in every single game. I mean, this is actually kind of wild. We are now on our fifth potentially difficult Texas game in the first 8. Like, are they ever going to shake these schools? Like, what is this the new normal now? We just play all of our games in the great state of Texas.
It's called Big 12 country overall. Like, this is Big 12 country. Like, when we had Texas and OU, like they faced all the same things except Houston overall. But like the main thing here with Houston is that they are a scrappy team. They're going to pull it out. They're going to surprise you. I don't think that we need to worry about them. Like, this is not a game that I am worried about in the slightest overall, especially facing them at home. This is, I think, like a knock it up in the win category. We're going to win by, I'm going to say 18 points.
Very specific.
Not even worried. Very specific. 18 is like a weird number for football as well.
Yeah,
brother.
Are these 2-point conversions? Are these missed field
Safety
goals?
maybe somewhere.
A safety?
I don't have the stat in front of me, but I think Kenny shows that he is more willing to run trick plays and go for 2 than the average coach.
That's fair. I could see that too, especially as their offense kind of evolves this year, losing Cam Skattebo. I'm going to be curious to see how much more they go to the air, especially on first down, and to the point of what we were just talking about in those 2-point conversion potential situations as well. That's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, so we're on. Where are we on to, Stephen? Have you made your case yet?
So I do think that this is also, I don't think this Houston team is quite there yet. So I'd chalk this up to a win as well. I don't know where 18 points comes from, but yeah, I'd say 2-touchdown win. So I've got them at 6-2 going into this next game.
So 6-2. Ben, are you at 8-0?
Yeah, 8-0.
You didn't bury the lead. You just said straight up 12-0 before we even got started. That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. I like it. So this next one, is a one to worry about, right? Because this is the Pop-Tart Bowl champion we're talking about here.
This is the rematch of the Big 12 championship. Iowa State, who has already played their first game. They were in Dublin last weekend playing against Kansas State, where I was waiting for this game to pop up just because I saw the news story the other day that Kansas State's the father of their quarterback and the brother of their quarterback got into a fight in the parking lot outside of the Aer Lingus Arena. You don't hear that very often. Like, that is some messy family drama that I'm here for, and I love it.
Yes.
I want to see more
Big
teams
12
travel.
football. That is Farmageddon. The only disservice of that happened is that this didn't happen in Ames or in Manhattan, Kansas. The fact that they played Farmageddon in Dublin, Ireland, and made these fan bases travel across the world just to fight in the parking lot, that is a travesty on the sport of college football.
Also, again, I have so many more questions. Like, I want to see, like, what was the flight back like? I don't know how you recover from that. Like, do you change your flight? I don't know. But anyway, this Iowa State team, did you watch the game, Ben?
Oh, every second.
What did well, yeah, because you woke me up texting me to tell me it was on. What did you see out of that first game that either concerns you or excites you about playing them on November 1st?
It was pure excitement. And now here's the thing. This is the first college football game that is broadcast nationally of the entire season. There's a ton of pressure. You're flying across the world. You're going to Ireland. You're playing in on real grass, even though I believe that Kansas State and Iowa State play on real grass anyway. But it's in the rain. It's messy. It was the quintessential Big 12 football that we are all coming to expect and love, which is parity overall. It was a slugfest. There was 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes of this game. It was messy. It was back and forth. And that is what Big 12 football is going to be for the most part throughout this season, especially at the top end of the contenders. I think that the things that I saw from this game overall is that Iowa State is still an imperfect team. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to be unpolished in a lot of respects, but they're going to play their hearts out overall. And that is going to be something that we need to face, especially when it comes to a coach that Matt Campbell, head coach.
I don't have his name in front of me. I'm gonna have to take your word for it.
Overall, I think that this game is really going to motivate Kansas State, especially after the performance that Avery Johnson's family did there, which means like I'm a Kansas State fan right now for that performance that they did in the parking lot afterwards. I think that the thing I worry most about this game is not necessarily the opponent, but once again, is where we are playing in who we're playing against. We're playing in Iowa. We're going to Ames in November.
It's going to be
play
cold.
football. It's going to be cold. We're going to see, like, is this a hot weather team? I think that this and the Baylor game are my two circled games of, like, is this questionable? Can we pull it off on the road here? Because if we can pull it off on the road here, I think we can pull it off anywhere, and we can play anyone.
Yeah, I don't have them winning this game just because of the exact same reason I mentioned earlier. I did not like what I saw when they went to Cincinnati last year. I have not been convinced that this team can travel late in the season to cold weather environments and show up, particularly if it's an early game. So I'm going to say third loss of the season right here.
No. This is a win because if you remember last year, we played Kansas State in Manhattan a week after this previous year, and we beat the living snot out of them early and continued throughout. I think knock it up. ASU is already at 9-0.
Man, I love it. Like I want it. I'm on the train. Not to curse us with any past ASU lore here, but I kind of want to turn your logic back towards you. And you had the revenge game aspect for Texas Tech. Now this is kind of a revenge game for Iowa State, is it not?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a Big 12 rematch, but seeing it live in person last year at the Big 12 Championship here in Dallas,
Texas.
Texas.
It is. I was waiting for
Here
him
we
to
go.
drop.
Here we go.
He saw this game in person.
The physicality and just seeing a team that was truly outmatched, like that, you can't come back from that. And I think that they're the other team in the Big 12, aside from ASU, that is returning the most starters overall. And so I'm not worried about it in the slightest. I think that ASU handles Iowa State any given Sunday.
I would say, like, kind of for me, similar to the Baylor game, I kind of see this as like a measure, a game where you can measure how this team is going to be. And I mean, obviously it's rough to say late in the season, first game of the last third of it, but it is right before the bye week also. So this team's going to be tired. They're going to be ready for that week off. I think this will tell us a lot against maybe the best opponent we see this season. Is that too much to say?
I think that Baylor is going to be a harder game than Iowa State.
Okay, that's a good measure. So, Ben, you're still saying win. Steven, you're saying loss here, right?
Yeah, and for that, Chris, I think you also keyed in on a key point that I was going to make. That it's late in the season and they haven't had a break yet. So I do worry about fatigue at that point. But then, I think it's relatively smooth sailing after they get through that. This West Virginia team. Now, I didn't realize this until I started doing my show prep. Ben, did you see who West Virginia's coach is?
Oh, is it Rich Rod?
Rich Rodriguez, after 18 years, making a triumphant return to Morgantown after his disastrous stop at he did have some success at U of A, but went on a little bit of a football odyssey after leaving U of A. Ended up at Jacksonville State last year, who crushed in Conference USA, and made a bowl game themselves. They were like number one in the conference and a whole bunch of different stats on both sides of the ball. They have my favorite player name in all of college football, Walter Youngbear at offensive tackle. Just great quality name. But yeah, this is not a team that has a very high media rankings going into the year. 6-7 last year. Rich Rod is kind of on the tail end of his career. He's finishing up in Morgantown where he was beloved. I don't see this being much of a problem. I think ASU pretty cruises through. I will say though that Rich Rod is known for a very particular style of air raid football. he is going to pass and pass and pass. So this will be a good test of ASU's secondary to see how they can stop that type of attack. But ultimately, they should have the balance that West Virginia doesn't even come close to having.
Stephen, it's funny that you find the funniest names of the college football, your favorite names so far, because a lot of these players have great names. But I'm surprised that you don't like Dorealist Clark, wide receiver at Kent State, Mobility, wide receiver at Rice. Also, number 4, Arizona State, Blazon Lonowong.
I didn't make it to that list that you're referencing from. I was really just going off the rosters that we're playing.
Or offense, or one of the linemen for SMU, King Large.
Yeah, okay, you can't beat that. That's quality.
Like if I don't go out and see someone wearing an SMU large jersey, like I'm like, are you even a fan? Like, what are you doing here?
Ben, I know what I want for Christmas. Put it on the list.
Oh, you don't want a Noah Knigga jersey?
No, thank you.
And what is that? What is it?
His last name is Knigga.
Okay.
He's a linebacker for Eastern Michigan University.
And also is not in NCAA football 26.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't opt in.
That makes sense. I'm sure there's some NIL opportunities there.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're on the same page here. West Virginia, we can move on.
West Virginia knocked that as a win. Moving on to our last away game.
Now this is going to be fun. Like Dion and what he's done at Colorado, it has been a little bit of a circus. But you know what? It's also been pretty fun to watch. And I think the thing that scares me about this Colorado team is that because there's just so much national attention on them and you don't really know what to expect. Like some of these Dion teams week to week have looked awful. Like they come out and you're like, what was the game plan here? And I think they got bailed out a lot last year by having, potentially first round talent on both sides of the ball. We all saw what happened with Shedeur. But
no, Travis played on both sides of the ball.
That's true. They did have, Travis Hunter doing crazy, Charles Woodson impersonation. This is like, for all the national storylines and the headlines, like this was a team that went 9-4 last year. Like I think people thought the Dion experiment was probably going to like kind of fall off by a certain point. He would eventually get tired of all of the national media and that he would kind of take a back seat because he hadn't really coached at this high of a level before. But no, they crushed BYU was it BYU that they played in the Alamo Bowl?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. They had a couple transfers. These Dion teams are also really wonky. They have like a lot of people leave. Like Dion tells his players to leave if they're not playing particularly well, which is an interesting way to manage your roster. But yeah, I'm less confident than I am with this West Virginia team that like I think we absolutely outclass on both sides of the ball. I do think that there's a potential. You're playing at Colorado. They've sold that season out, or they've sold that stadium out for like ever since Dion arrived. So it is a little bit more. It's not that like the 2-10 Colorado teams that we were used to seeing. But I like ASU. Again, this is a really good test before the Territorial Cup. How can you finish strong? And it's one thing this team did really well last year is they built week over week on the momentum, playing in some of these tougher environments. I really want to make sure if they are going to make a potential playoff appearance, you have to go into Colorado what could be a nationally televised game, and you have to show up because again, people are gonna. There's always going to be whispers that Dion, especially if you're nationally ranked, that Dion could pull off the upset.
You know, the thing with this is I hear what you're saying. I think that this year Colorado is taking a massive step back. That they are not going to have the same level of output that they had in the past 2 years, especially with Shedeur and Travis Hunter. This is going to be us beating a dead buffalo in Colorado. It could be horse, but it's a dead buffalo. You gotta keep it live. But this is the one away game that I am not worried about in the slightest. I am not afraid of the Colorado student section. I'm not afraid of every Scottsdale kid who's like, hey, yeah, dude, I want to go to Colorado. Yeah, let's go, dude. It's
I'm
not
going to Boulder.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother. It's just not worried about it. I don't want to see a bunch of white dudes wearing cowboy hats that don't live in Texas.
Hey, that's fair. I'm curious to know, or I guess see, what this Colorado football team is going to look like post Shedeur and Travis Hunter. And I think that media glazing is going to be greatly reduced this season. Of course, you still have the shine of Deion Sanders. But did you guys see he has like I know he had like thank God he's all in health and everything, but did you see he was doing like a Depends ad on his social media? He's like, I depend on Depends.
But you know what? Like, props to Dion. I mean, for getting that bag and like truly having no shame. Like, hey, that money that comes from Depends, it's the same color as every other advertising.
It spends the same, and yeah.
So no, props to him. And I know he had a health scare as well, earlier in the season. So it was promising to see like all of these stars from like our childhood. Like I saw Randy Moss came out and said, a lot of nice things. It was super supportive. So no, I think Dion, the character, is good for college football, but I would not want him as my coach just with the constant circus that surrounds this team. I do think it is ultimately a distraction, and it worked for getting his guys national attention last year. I don't think Travis Hunter wins the Heisman if he doesn't have Dion as his coach. But yeah, this is still an incomplete team. They have like literally no rushing attack. They were there's a crazy stat that's like there were games where they didn't even rush for 50 yards because they were just handing Shedeur the ball, and he had these inflated stats because he was throwing like 60% accuracy because all of his throws were within like 20 yards. Like the entire season, it felt like was designed to get Shedeur drafted, and then that kind of backfired on them. So it's a weird program that doesn't really have like the continued success and the structure that a lot of winning programs have.
No, I think that's absolutely right. The media train around Colorado, I think this year is the year that ends. It will always be a kind of a sideshow piece because of the Dion aspect, but it's not going to be the same level because you don't have the top tier talent that you have of Travis Hunter, and then the fifth round talent that you have with Shedeur.
And then that brings us to the Territorial Cup. So I have a theory about this game, and I think I was a little long-winded last year, so I'm just going to get straight to the chase.
Wait, no, Steven, before you start, Mike, can you please play the clip?
Yeah, let's see. Do we have that ready? Putting him on the spot now, producer Mike behind the scenes. I don't know. We might have to,
because what I want to do is I want to bring back exactly what Steven said.
Okay, here we go. All right, I don't think we have the audio right now. got to share it a different way. And then we'll have the audio, the controversial audio from the 2024 predictions.
We've got, the Sun Devils going down to Tucson, U of A, 10-3 last year. The embarrassment that they put on the Sun Devils in Tempe. Ben, we were in close contact for as long as both of us were watching that game, which I think I lasted almost 3 quarters. But I think ASU, lasted about a quarter and a half. But just a horrible, horrible way to end the season last year at home, getting beat like that. Clearly, the stomping that ASU put on them a couple years back, was it the 63-3?
Don't do us a disservice like that, my brother in Christ.
Well,
we are talking about the 70-7.
There we go. Okay,
stomping of U of A, which I think is going to happen again this year. 70-7. You got to have that touch of. I think we can pause it there at the end of the game, but I think. But yeah, Steven, you came in extremely hot on U of A last year. They were coming off a great year. We get it. We didn't perform in that Territorial Cup previously, but this current year, or this previous year, when we played U of A, what was the end score of that game?
49-7.
It indeed was 49-7.
So, okay, a few things while you gloat over there. One is that, okay, yes, I was way too high on this U of A team that ended up going 4-8. I was not wrong, though, that they had a weapon in Tetairoa McMillan, who ended up being top of the first round. One of the aside from Travis Hunter, I think the first wide receiver off the board. So he was top tier talent. They actually returned that quarterback, Noah Fafita, who was on Heisman watch list last year. He's coming back again. So they're, again, this is a team that went 4-8. So I don't think they are going to find that magic that they had in 2023. But yes, that is the perfect encapsulation of how low I was on this ASU team last year. But I want to get back to my theory, and then I'll toss it back to you, Ben. That whoever is having the better year, historically, the other team ruins it for them in this game. So if ASU is riding high with 1, 2, 3 losses and is looking at that, needing a few dominoes to fall their way to have a path back to the Big 12 championship, this absolutely could be a game where U of A in Tempe could wreck their season. So I think we have to take this game seriously, throw records out the window just because of the true hatred between these two programs and the history that we have now developed of neither team letting off the brakes once they've established a win. I mean, whoever is up is going to run the score up, and this just isn't a close game anymore. Okay, Ben, back to you.
I think that is a great point that you make. We are a state of ankle biters. We are trying to bring down everyone down to our level and beat them with experience. But I think that with ASU, U of A, it's the Territorial Cup on the line. We are going to demolish them once again. U of A is not going to have a successful season. I don't even think they win 4 games this year. I think that ASU is going to, Chris is writing that down to save for next year. I think that we are going to demolish them at home in Tempe where we need to. We haven't seen a massive ASU victory over U of A since those miracle field goals in 2014 and 2015 that won us the game in the last second of U of A shanking field goals. We need this. Every single massive victory that we've had against U of A in the past 10 years has been in Tucson. We need to win this at home.
Yeah, I mean, make a statement. Make a statement that you are going to be the powerhouse for football now in the state of Arizona. They're going to have basketball. It's just no matter how much we all want to believe in Bobby Hurley, and it's another stream for another day, guys. But yeah, ASU is going to run football for a while, and U of A can still have basketball. Steven, I just because it made me laugh. You mentioned McMillan getting drafted high. He was drafted 8th overall, the second wide receiver off the board, if you consider Travis Hunter a wide receiver.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think, and I don't want to muddy the waters here with getting into NFL, but is it confirmed he's the number 1 wide receiver on the Jaguars depth chart, and then I think he's the number 3 cornerback. So he's like,
interesting. It's
unclear if he's going to do the both ways thing again, but he's definitely going to be playing wide receiver, I think. I don't know. We keep doing the research there. But yeah, Ben, I do want to be mindful. It is getting late over there. Do we want to do our playoff prediction?
Oh, I think ASU makes it to the second round of the CFP, and that we are just clawing at the bit to make it in those semifinals. Because of the changes to the CFP overall, we are not going to get the benefit of a bye once again, unless we're in those top 4 spots. So with the respect that the Big 12 is getting, will be shocked if ASU is in the top 10 at all this season. I think we're going to hover around that 8 to 12, even as an undefeated team.
And you know what? I don't want to be in this position again next year. I will say, yes, I agree with you. ASU is a Big 12 champion. They do run it back to back and start this conference dynasty. They get a shot. I mean, there's no easy games in the playoff. I just hope that they do not have a first half like they did against Texas if they are playing on that stage again, because they're going to get a Notre Dame, they're going to get a Georgia or a Penn State. I mean, whoever that they pull, if they make it to that first round, is going to be a historically good team. They got it. I hope that we see the momentum carry over, and that instead of being a happy to be here type year, that it's hey, like this is we need to make a splash and make an appearance instead of just sniffing around it, because that really is the next leap for Kenny in this program.
I was just going to piggyback off that super quick and just agree with you guys. I think last year this team really kicked in the door, to use an analogy, and now they got to just take over the house and not get shooed away. Because we've seen this again. Arizona sports seems to be consistent, whatever sport it is, where a team will explode onto the scene and then just fizzle out just as fast as they came onto it. So I'd hate for that to happen to this ASU team. I think we talk about the measure games with Baylor, with Iowa State. I think this entire season is going to be a measure of this Arizona State program. And a point I was trying to make later, but kind of blanked on it, Steven, when we were talking about this program growing, is like, it's kind of a paradox where you have to be good to stay good, but it's just such a steep hill. But once you reach that pinnacle and you have that sustained success, and you have a young guy like Kenny Dillingham, who could be the head coach here for 20 plus years, if it really, and that's not unheard of. I mean, there are examples of that. So I think this is just a real big opportunity for Arizona State, and really exciting time to be a fan, honestly. So I love your cautious optimism. I have it as well. And Ben, throwing caution to the wind is just full on optimism.
Hell yeah. Go Devils. And thank you for having us on. It's my favorite day of the entire year, aside from when we beat U of A. So thank you, Chris Patrick. Thank you, Mike Benjamin, on the keys. And we'll see you next year.
It's always a pleasure, Ben. Steven, did you have anything else you wanted to say, like to give everyone the floor one last time?
No, go Devils. Excited to see them start strong. And yeah, maybe we'll have to we'll record a little hello to the VSP fans and throw a video together on site in Waco, a little live field report maybe. and maybe we can throw it on VSP socials.
Yes, I love it. We're always looking for more short form content. We love to have a diverse, offering here for our viewers. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you anyone who is still watching this late in the playback, listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, where we have the audio only version. Next day for you guys, the YouTube playback, and then 7 p.m. every Tuesday night we go live. We will have the Brother Millers back on very soon. Day to be determined. Trivia roundtable. We love having these guys on. Love having them talk ASU. But guys, I'm Chris Patrick for Ben and Stephen Miller. This was Valley Sports Plug. We'll see you next time. Peace.